perhaps collaborate as well. So with that in mind, this TLC talks have been organizing, and today we are happy to have Dr. Jonathon and Dr. Victor Tan from the National University of Singapore. And the topic that is very close to the mathematics faculty and the entire engineering faculty, actually, because how to improve the student self-efficacy is something that all of us have been wondering, and I think we are going to learn a lot from you today. To give a brief introduction about Dr. Jonathon and Dr. Victor, Dr. Jonathon completed his BSc and PhD degrees at NUS. His research interests are in geometry and mathematical physics. He teaches introductory mathematics courses for mathematics, computer science, engineering, and data science minor students. He is a recipient of the Faculty Teaching Award and the NUS Annual Teaching Excellence Award. Dr. Teo is currently a lecturer at the Department of Mathematics, Faculty of Science. Dr. Victor Tan is the Deputy Head and Associate Professor in the Department of Mathematics in the National University of Singapore. He received his BSc Honours degree from NUS and PhD degree from the University of California, Los Angeles. His research interests are in algebra and number theory. Professor Tan had received multiple awards for excellent teaching at the faculty as well as the university level, including the Outstanding Educator Award, which is the highest recognition for teaching at NUS. He was the president of the Singapore Mathematical Society from 2017 to 2023. So I once again thank you, Dr. Jonathon and Dr. Victor, for joining us to share your experiments, experiences in improving students' self-efficacy in mathematics. And I'm sure our colleagues who have also joined the meet today will be happy to learn, and maybe it is a beginning of longer interaction that will ensue. With that, I request you to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh, for the introduction. I just want to emphasize on what Dr. Vignesh mentioned just now at the beginning of the introduction. That is I'm just sharing the experimentation and my experience of teaching mathematics. So I want to first humbly start the talk by saying that I'm no expert in self-efficacy, neither am I expert in teaching mathematics. I'm just here to share my experience and hopefully can maybe share some experience that you can adopt, okay, for the department also, right? So yeah, so maybe after this, if you have any questions, you can ask myself and Dr. Tan, Prof. Tan. Prof. Tan will definitely be more than qualified to answer all the questions, since he has so much more experience than I do in teaching in the department. Okay, so maybe I'll just start by sharing a bit of introspective or a bit of a reflection. When I first started teaching in the Department of Mathematics in the NUS, I constantly ask myself, what's my goal? What's my goal as I teach the students? And as Dr. Vignesh have introduced just now, my main audience are the non-math students. They are people that are from engineering, computing science, maybe a bit of chemistry, physics, but mostly other non-math students. So what's my goal as I teach them? Okay, so let's get one thing very obvious out of the way, which is that my goal is definitely not for them to get A in the course as they take their course, because it's self-contradictory, right? Because we grade students by the curve. So being a curve means that not everybody will get A. So my goal will definitely not be for them to get A. Another not goal or not a reason for a goal is, of course, for the students to be good at mathematics, because most of my audience or most of my students are non-math students. So they're just here to take 1 or 2 course maximum from me, so that they can move on in life and do well in their own department, their own faculty, and they are only using math as a tool to learn further in their domain of expertise. So obviously my goal cannot be then therefore for them to be experts at mathematics. So I has been asking myself, what's then is my goal for the students that take my courses, and what inspired me to adopt the idea of self-efficacy was the very fact that I'm a gamer myself. I play game, and I know many students do play games. Like, in fact, a lot of students will sometimes, because of playing games, neglect their work, right? So they're very motivated to play games, but the question is, not every student play every game, right? In fact, there are some games where students will not like to play and same thing. There are some students that there are some games that more people like to play, and I ask myself why is it that why they like to play games, and why is it that some games are more popular? Well, it has something to do with how the game is structured, right? The games, first of all, it must be fun. Second, it must have certain kind of challenge. It cannot be too easy. It must be challenging, but it cannot be too hard, such that the very first moment they start playing, they are instantly destroyed, right, by the game. So there must be some kind of a curve. So I realized that actually what a good game does is that it attracts the students in, retains them by slowly increasing the difficulty level, and also engage them by giving them some form of a sense of achievement, and of course it must be fun enough to pass the time. And I realized that this is not much very different from learning mathematics, right? And the what's it called, the reason behind all these things, how they engaged by the game, actually can be boiled down to this term called the self-efficacy, which here's the definition. Okay, so self-efficacy refers to the individual's belief in his or her capability or capacity to execute behavior necessary to produce specific performance attainments. So self-efficacy is not how good a student is in that subject, but it's rather how the student view himself to face the challenges of the subject. Okay, in this case, mathematics, right? So maybe to give an example, right? If a student have a high self-efficacy, then when they are faced with challenges, okay, they will persevere. They will try to overcome it. Okay, and if they have low self-efficacy, they would so-called what's that called, the fulfillment of self-prophecy, right? They will say that, oh, I'm not good at this subject. Then they don't try. They don't do well, and then they will say that, oh, you see, I am indeed not good at mathematics, and therefore I will not put in effort to learn. So self-efficacy have it's like the self-motivation, a little bit of that. So students with self-efficacy will tend to enjoy mathematics more, will tend to want to push themselves to learn more. Students with self-efficacy will put in more effort, will spend more time, will practice more. So I think that should be a good motivation, or should be the good end goal, right? The reason. So my motivation, or my reason for teaching them, is to increase their self-efficacy in mathematics. Okay, so what are some ways that we can improve self-efficacy? So let's talk about it. In the first place, like I mentioned, right, most of my students are not math major. So when they come in, they naturally, most of them will have low self-efficacy in mathematics, because it's not their primary subject. In fact, in NUS, right, we have this thing called the SU, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. It means to say that the students can come in and take a course, and if they do not get a very, very good grade, but they manage to pass it, then they will exercise this SU option, and then the grades, right, will not be counted towards their cap, okay, their final grades in their what's it called, transcript. Then it will just be reflected that they have just passed the module, but the grades itself will not be reflected. In other words, means that if students exercise the SU option, they already intend not to do well, but just to barely pass the course. So many students come into the course first day, right, commenting that, oh, I'm just going to ask you this course, so just help me to pass, not to do well. So so therefore my aim is to help the students to see that actually they may not need to exercise their SU option. They may be able to do well if they improve their self-efficacy. Okay, so how are some ways that I can improve, or rather what I think may improve their self-efficacy is to make the course fun and less intimidating. As we know, right, math, if written very abstractly, can be quite intimidating. Okay, so one thing is to make it fun and less intimidating. Build up the students' confidence. Okay, how? By giving them frequent and numerous revision and practice. It can be graded or ungraded, and I'll share some of the ways that I do that later. And of course, they will increase their self-efficacy if they have good intuition of the mathematical content. Okay, so specifically, the two areas that I will implement the improving of their self-efficacy is through content learning, that means receiving of knowledge, and practice content, that means through their own practices, okay, graded or ungraded. So when learning the content, right, I will make the lectures interactive through this thing called POEV, which I'll demonstrate later. I will have some competition at the start of the quiz, at the start of the lecture, okay? And then during the lecture, I will also use POEV to check if they are following with me. And during the lecture, I will also use some software, some application, some apps, okay, to demonstrate the maybe geometry, or to demonstrate some what's that called, result, right, to increase the students' intuition. As for the content practice, I give them weekly lecture quizzes. Okay, then they have some kind of a forum to discuss the content, and I allow them also to discuss the homework problem using the forum. Okay, and throughout the whole course, in either in the lecture notes or in the tutorial problem or even in their homework problem, I will give them extra problems to solve, and also some extra challenges for the more advanced students. Okay, so maybe to go specifically, I use this thing called the revision competition. Okay, it is through this software called POEV. It is ungraded and it's not compulsory. So students will come to lecture, they will be allowed to participate in the competition. Okay, and before the start of every lecture, I will have this competition so as to make sure that they have learned the content from the previous lecture, because we all know that mathematics, the content is cumulative, right? So I need to make sure that they know of the previous lecture's content before we talk on the current new content. So in a sense, if let's say the competition shows that the students are doing very well and they understand the previous lecture content, then we can move on in this week's content. But if let's say in the competition, I can see that most students are still struggling with the previous lecture's content, I will then spend some time to revise a little bit what we have been through in the previous lecture, so that we can do a crash course before we start the new content, right? So I give you an example. So this is a clip from the recording of my lecture, so we can watch. Okay, show of a hand who needs to scan the QR code again. No. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the scanning of the QR code, right, is how the students participate in the revision. So that will display the QR code, they will scan it, and then they can just put alias. Okay, so it's not compulsory for them to put in their actual name. They can put any alias, and this is ungraded. So there's no this whether they participate and how much marks they get at the end of this competition, right, will not be counted towards their cap. Okay, so yeah, so you see, I give them the option of whether they want to join. First question. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Students will look at the questions, then in their mobile devices, they will start to click on the correct answer. The statement, right, original statement given you is that U5 is a combination of U1 to U4, okay? Okay, so here is where I go on to explain the answer. So just now I paused, I speed up the video so you didn't notice the part I paused for about 20 seconds for them to choose the right answer. Okay, and then after that, I will see how many of them actually get the, so you see, okay. So this tells me that 38% of the people who participated in this question got it right, okay, and then the other percentage, okay, the other 62% did not get it right. So I know that, okay, maybe only about 1/3 of the students got it right. So I do need to spend a little bit more time to explain this concept about linear dependency or being in the spanning set for a little bit here. So that's why you can see I sped up the video a little bit. I spent quite a bit of time explaining. Okay, so what happened after I should review the correct answer and explain? So okay. How are we doing on the leadership board? Leaderboard. Oh wow! Yeah, so you see here, this is the result. Okay, so not only are students supposed to give the right answer, but the speed matters. The first one who give the answer correctly will get 1,000 points, and then from that on, depending on how long they take, the points will just decrease accordingly. Okay, and then those who get 0 either didn't answer or answered it wrongly. ChatGPT, you're first. Good. Finally, AI have won. AI have dominated. Okay, so yeah, 25 percentile, you are indeed in the dominated. Okay, so okay, I just want to keep your attention here for a while. The microphone, right, is on me, so it didn't pick up the background sound. But at this point, the students were all laughing and talking among themselves. So this shows that they actually do enjoy. I mean, okay, because the names that they use are a bit funny. Okay, so they do enjoy each other's nickname. Also, they also do enjoy watching how because I'm doing this every week, right? So every week they can see that either the same name consistently compete to be in the first place, or there will be some weeks where suddenly some random name that never got first before become in the top, right? So they do enjoy this and watch each other compete and get first place in the revision. Okay, so let's continue. 25 percentile, you are indeed in the 25 percentile. Well done. And then guess 837. Gambate, yes, please Gambate. You are fourth. Do better. Okay. And it's late. Okay, yes. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so let's look at question number 2. Okay, so I will have a few questions, normally about 5 to 7 questions. So I speed up the whole video. Let's see, okay? So this is after 5 questions. So you can notice that the one in the first place, right, ChatGPT, he have 4,000. Each question is up to 1,000 points. So in total, he got 4,500. It means that he got every question correctly. Just that he may not be the first to answer every single question. Same thing for this guy. So the first 2 places answered every single question correctly. Yeah, but anyway. You are in the fourth. Yeah, so now, so the first is ChatGPT, guess 837, and N is late. Okay, so good job. N is late, even though you are late, but you are still in the third position. Okay, and 25 percentile, you are still the same. Yeah, so students do enjoy this, and okay. That's another motivation to make them come on time for the lecture. So because this is held at the beginning of the lecture, right, before I start the content, so they would be quite motivated to want to come to lecture on time so that they can participate in the revision competition. Even if they're not participating, they're here to enjoy watching their friends winning the competition. So yeah, so that's it. Okay, so the Pole EV, right, just now that software that you see, besides at the beginning of the lecture, besides using it for the challenge, okay, or the revision challenge, I will also, during the lecture, stop and ask them, okay, to answer some questions so that I will know whether they understand the question, the content thus far, and if necessary, I will have to go back and repeat the content again if I see the majority of our students did not understand what I've just mentioned. So here's a video to demonstrate. This is the first time you see it in lecture. Okay, so then the context is this is already halfway through, not halfway, but somewhere in the middle of the lecture. I'm supposed to explain the concept of orthogonal matrix. But you have seen it in your tutorial a few times. Okay, so some of you may remember, some of you may not, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let me just formally introduce to you in the lecture. A matrix, a square. Okay, so you see here, as you can see, right, I sped up the video, but it's about 10 minutes or maybe even 15 minutes, right? I explained the definition and the concept of orthogonal matrix, and I gave them the theorem, right, the proof of the theorem. Okay, so the next few seconds, the next few minutes, we actually went through the proof of the theorem, okay, of orthogonal matrix. Okay, so at this point in time, I would like to check if the students are paying attention, right? So you see, you notice that it is just, we just completed the proof of the theorem, right? And the definition was introduced to the students not more than 10 or 15 minutes ago. So now I'm asking the students whether they have understood what I just said, right? And I'm asking them the difference between orthogonal and orthonormal matrix. Do you think that the majority of the students will be able to tell? Because we just gave the definition and the theorem, right? So okay, so yeah. So at this point when I asked, do you think most of the students would have would know the difference? Will be able to answer this question? So let's see. So far, so can you word cloud, right? Okay, so you type something, but put underscore, okay, no space. Type something to let me see whether you understand the lecture. Okay, what's the difference between an orthogonal matrix and an orthonormal matrix? Anyone else? Okay, so what you see on the page here are the options or the answers from the students. Okay, so I just want to note one thing. You see here, the bottom right, 12, means that only 12 students, there were about 60 students in the lecture hall, but only 12 students answered. So it shows that the rest either don't care or don't know the answers. And look at the answers of those people who do answer. Just speed read through the comments and the answers, you realize that most of them don't understand. I just spent 15 minutes explaining orthogonal matrix, and you can see from the answer, right? In fact, you can see that this word, please repeat, right, is the largest. It means that out of these 12, a few of them repeated the comment of asking me to please repeat what I just taught them about orthogonal and orthonormal matrix. So far, only 12 people have, I think it's less than 12 because some of you have given multiple entries. No more? Okay. Okay, so I guess I would. And also, students do enjoy these comments because sometimes when they read each other's comment, it's quite funny. But in this case, there's nothing really funny going on over here because you can see that the students are really struggling to understand orthogonal matrix. And this is how I gather feedback, right? So I know that now I need to repeat again what I just mentioned and fully emphasize. And even though you may feel like, oh, it's a waste of time to repeat again, right? Or even if I repeat, students may not fully understand. No, but the fact that they realize that they cannot answer this question caused them to realize that they did not understood what I just taught, right? So when I explain it for the second time, they will pay attention and they will the understanding will be even deeper than when I explained it for the first time. Okay, so the rest of the video, it's me explaining only if the rows and columns form an orthonormal basis. Okay, so this is that's it. That's the end of the demonstration. Okay, so I'm not sure if your university is familiar with this thing called pole EV. I just want to do a quick demonstration of how it works. Let me see. Okay, so let me just share my other screen. This one. Okay, so this is how a pole EV looks like. Okay, so you can it's free to use, except that if it's the free version, right, then there's a limitation to how many participants can take part. Okay, but yeah, but there's a subscription version, and then it doesn't. I mean, there's no limit to how many students can use. Okay, so if you click on the activities over here, you can see that there are different type. Okay, so just now when I talk about the revision competition, right, this is where I will do the revision. Yeah. Okay, so this is how the competition will look like, and this is where you put the questions. And for us mathematics, right, you'll be glad to know that this supports LaTeX. Okay. Yeah, it does support LaTeX. Okay, so you can use for competition. You can use it for open-ended. So open-ended is you can just ask maybe for their response. Okay, then students will just keep after. Okay, if you create like this, so this is what they will see, and then when they key in their answers, they will see their answer popping out over here. Okay, of course, there's also the There's also the multiple choice, so you can put your multiple choice question over here. Okay, then answers, and then students can go ahead and click the right answers and choose the options. Okay, so this is a pole EV. You can consider using it. Okay, so let me go back to my slides. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so now the next thing I want to share is how I help develop the student intuition. And one way that I develop the students' intuition is through visualization. Okay, because a lot of course I teach, right, calculus, linear algebra, there's a certain geometry to it, and if they are able to visualize the concept through some pictures or through some geometry, it will give them a deeper understanding of the content and therefore increase their self-efficacy. So just quickly show you some examples. Just show you examples. Okay, so I'm not sure if you are familiar. This app is online for free. It's called GeoGebra. Okay, and you're able to write your own program or activity, write your own activity, okay, to demonstrate. So here, in this activity, right, I'm trying to demonstrate the idea of linear combination. Okay, so students who come into this app and can play around and see how the linear combination of U1 and U2 to visualize it. Okay, so this is one. Okay, so here's another example. Here I'm trying to demonstrate the span of a set. Okay, the span of a set in this case is a subspace, right? I mean, spanning is always a subspace. So how I demonstrate it is I will first tell them that, okay, look, there are two vectors, U1 and U2. Okay, and then if I take the linear combination of U1 and U2, right, and I move it around, you can see that the balls here, right? Okay, the black balls are the places that are possible linear combinations of U1 and U2. Okay, then I will ask the student to visualize, okay, if you were to collect all the balls together, what shape would you form? And in this case, we will form a plane. And so the span of U1 and U2 is a plane. Okay, so this is one way that I help students to visualize the span. Okay, let me just stop this animation. Okay, and this is a quite fun one. Okay, so eigenvalue, eigenvectors, right? So the concept of eigenvalue, eigenvectors can be demonstrated using here. So students can actually go around and play with the different matrix. Okay, so I'll just use 1, 2, 1, minus 1 as an example, but students who come into this app can change this matrix and play around. So this is the x value of the U, okay, the input vector. and this is the Y value. So as they play around, right, they can see that, okay, there's a particular choice of X and Y such that when A multiplied to U is just scaling, okay, it's stretching. So the green vector is the resultant of A acting on U, and U is the input vector. So they can see that, oh, so this value of U, or this vector U, is actually an eigen vector, and if they see the amount of scaling, they will get the eigenvalue. So here is a very good way to visualize eigenvalue and eigenvector. Okay, and of course, that tangent is no surprise. We can very easily understand, right? Tangent. Okay, so but the idea of differentiation, right? Taking limits. So that's where I use this h. Okay, the limit as h goes to 0, right? And you can see that the students will be able to see that as h goes to 0, either from the right or from the left, the gradient will approach 4. Right, so yeah, you can see that the gradient will approach. Oh, I shifted a little bit. Okay, the gradient will approach 4, either from the left or from the right. So this is a way to help students to visualize what do you mean by the limit of h goes to 0. Okay, and finally, here's one app that I use to demonstrate the idea of epsilon delta. So as you decrease the epsilon, right, you must decrease the delta. So how wide the space of the delta is, okay, depends on how wide the space of the epsilon you allow the function or the value to be away from the function, right? So this is one way the students can come in to visualize the epsilon delta. Okay, so I hope that these are some. I mean, GeoGebra is a very good app that we can use to demonstrate a lot of visualization of the mathematical concept. Okay, so if you want to, I can send my slides so that you can also take a look at these apps yourself and perhaps play around with it. Okay, another way to develop students' intuition, right, is by using simulations. So I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with MATLAB, and so here I did not use MATLAB. I'm using R because there's a course that I teach where the students are made to learn R. So I'm sure we are familiar with the Monty Hall problem, right? But I mean, how do we prove that it is more advantage to switch the door? Well, we use the Bayes theorem, right, to prove it. But Bayes theorem is very abstract. So when I do the proof to the students, right, using the Bayes theorem, they're still not convinced. They're still not convinced that it is more advantageous to switch. So how do I convince them, or how do I show them that it's actually more advantageous to switch? Well, by doing simulations. Let's play the Monty Hall game. Okay, let's say in this case here, what was the number? 10,000. Oh no, 100,000 times. Let's play 100,000 times. Okay, and see out of these 100,000 times, if you switch, okay, how many times you win, and if you don't switch, how many times you win. And you can see from the result here that 0.666 probability I will win if I switch, and 0.33, which you can, okay, we know the answer, right? It's 1/3 and 2/3. Okay, two-third chance of winning if you switch, and 1/3 chance. Okay, so by simulating, I can convince the students, okay, that it is more advantageous to switch. Here's another example. So of course, we know that the probability of picking a singular matrix, right, singular square matrix is 0, because I mean, the way we will prove it is maybe using measure theory, right? Say that, okay, it's measure 0, right? Because the determinant 0 is just one point out of the many different determinants. But how do we convince the students that this is true? Well, again, by simulation. So here I use R, okay, to simulate how many? 100,000 again, okay, 100,000 matrix. And I show them, okay, and I do have the option also to display the different matrices. Okay, so here I only restrict myself to order for 4x4 matrix, but this simulation allows any size matrix. Okay, so I can run this simulation, and I give the students this code, and I ask them to try themselves, to run it themselves, and you can see that the probability will always be 0 at the end. Okay, the probability of getting a singular square matrix will always be 0. Okay, and this is the one that I so-called most proud of. Okay, is to help students understand using least square approximation for the different degree polynomial. Okay, so here, in fact, oops, sorry. In fact, I think I'll do better if I demonstrate this live. Okay, so here's a R program again. Okay, so I will. Okay, in this case, I will just choose 10 points of X and Y. So you can see here, this is a scatter plot of X and Y. These are just random points on the graph, okay? So I will first run a degree 4 least square approximation, okay? A degree 4 least square polynomial. And then I'll show the students, okay, look, if I use a degree 4 least square approximation, right, this will be the curve. And then the students can visualize and see that. And now I'll ask them, degree 4, is it accurate? Well, the students will say that, yeah, maybe, okay, it will capture some 1 point, but the rest are like, okay, quite far away, right? So then I'll demonstrate by saying, okay, what if I change the degree to, let's say, 5, higher degree? Okay, so we use a higher degree polynomial. So let's run the simulation again. And you can see that, if now I put a degree 5, yeah, some of the points are nearer already, right? So you can see it's nearer already. Okay, and then if I run for degree 7, let's say, I will get this. And you can see that now, once I use a degree 7, in fact, it crosses almost every point, right? It's just some outliers here and here and here. Okay, and finally, if I do a degree 8, will it be even more accurate? I do not know. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can see that it's even more accurate. Okay, so this demonstrates, right, the accuracy of the approximation, least square approximation using polynomial if you have a higher degree. So the students will get a better intuition of how the polynomial approximation works. Okay. Okay, so that's it for how to improve their self-efficacy using the content learning. So now I'll move on to touch about how I improve their self-efficacy by practicing the content. Okay, so just now where we had the revision competition at the beginning of the lecture, right, that was ungraded. Okay, so students have the option to take part or not in that. But I also do have the graded portion. Okay, so every week, most of the time is every week, but sometimes it will be 2 weeks once. Okay, so it depends on how fast the course go. But frequently students will be made, or rather there will be some online assessment, okay, for them to participate in, and these are mostly MCQ or MCQ, multiple choice, multiple response, or fill in the blank type of questions. Okay, and there are some research that shows that if students receive immediate feedback, right, from their quiz or from their attempt, right, they tend to retain the information better, and also, of course, also learn the material better. So being an online quiz, right, each time they submit their answer or each time they submit their attempt, I do have the option to immediately give them the comment. Okay, so it's an inbuilt comment based on their answer. So here I give you an example, right? So here is a example of a quiz. Okay, so you can see here I build it in such that if they give the correct answer, they will receive this set of comments. Okay, and if they give the wrong answer, okay, in this case, the right and wrong answer will get the same comments. Okay, and if they ask for hint, or if they do not know how to do it right, I'll remind them of the definition, okay, of eigenvalue and eigenvector to hopefully help them in answering the question. Okay, and the quiz, right, is not a one-time done deal thing. They are encouraged to do more than once. Okay, so what happened is that each time they do, the result, right, will be, I mean, the end result, okay, will be the average score of all their attempts. Yeah, so they'll be encouraged to do more than once, so that they can pull up their scores. If let's say the first time they do is not perfect score, right, they can do it again, each time correcting their mistake based on the feedback. Okay, in the future, right, so for now, the questions are still pretty much fixed, but what I'm doing, planning for the coming semester, is that each time they start a new attempt, they will get a different set of questions. Same type, okay, so that they can still use whatever they learn from the feedback to answer the next question. So it's the same type of question, but just different question. Okay, so they will use the same concept, but they cannot memorize the answer and answer again. So this encourages them to do more practice and pull up their scores as they practice more. Okay, so that's the weekly lecture. Yeah, so this is another example. So you can see that sometimes the comment can be quite long. So the comment itself, right, or the feedback that they get actually is part of the lecture notes, okay, that they're supposed to read. But instead of explicitly telling them, hey, you don't know your stuff, go and read your lecture notes again, I actually put the lecture notes here for them to revisit and revise again, so that when they attend the next time, they will have remember what they have read from the comments. Okay, so it's a way to make them remember. Okay, so another way to help them practice the content is to use the forum. Okay, so the university have Canvas, right, as an official forum for them to use, but that's very formal. Students tend to shy away from such formal content. So I don't know if you recognize the screenshot. This is actually from Telegram chat. Okay, what the advantage of Telegram chat is there's no, okay, I at least until now, I haven't hit the limit of how many students can join in a chat group. And second is that they can use aliases, so you can see all these names, right? It may not be their actual names, so they don't feel embarrassed if, let's say, they ask questions. You know, being Asians, Asian students tend to be quite reserved, but if we let them use aliases, they will not be that embarrassed or shy to ask questions. And you can see that from the screenshot, right, in the past Telegram chat. Students are very active in the Telegram chat. In fact, this is what keeps me up at night. Even at 2 a.m., the students are still actively discussing either homework problem or what they learn from the lectures. And you notice that the one that are answering their questions is not me. I'm not the one answering the question. Students are actually answering each other's question, and this is good because the one who asked the question get their response, get their answers, right? But those who respond and answer the student's question, they themselves learn the content better when they help to answer the question. So it's a win-win situation. And of course, it's win for me because then I don't have to stay up at 2 a.m. to answer all their questions. Okay, so it's a forum that I use Telegram chat as a forum for them to discuss the course content. And sometimes it's not just course content, right? Students do enjoy using the chat a lot because sometimes they also put some memes and some jokes, math or not math related jokes or memes, doesn't matter. And I don't like censor them unless it's something that is not appropriate. But normally not the case. Students, the joke that they put on the memes, right, are actually quite funny, and I do enjoy them myself. Okay, yeah. Okay, and another way that I increase their self-efficacy, right, is I give them optional question during the lecture, and this ties in again with the Telegram chat. Where so for example, here's an example, right? I give them, okay, I can show you. Wait, I show you the actual lecture slides. Give me a moment. Okay, so this is an actual lecture slide that I use in class. Okay, so I will teach them some concepts, some stuff. Okay, and then I will give them the for example here. So this question, right, is not graded, right? They're not forced to answer this question. I'll just put it up on the slide as on the screen. But what students do is that they will actually discuss in the Telegram chat. So just now you saw the Telegram chat, right? Some of the chat are their answers or their attempt to answer these questions, and you can see from the discussion, right, that even students who are not very motivated to answer the question can read the comments or the answers or the attempts of the different of their classmates, and therefore they themselves benefit from these questions. Okay, and it's not just question. There's also, let me see, there's also the more challenging questions like this. Okay, so this is way beyond their syllabus. They're not required to know this, but some students maybe they are already more advanced, right? So we can also help the advanced students to increase their self-efficacy. So the self-efficacy, right, is not just for the weaker students. Even the better students can increase their self-efficacy when you give them problems like this. I'll tell them directly that when I label the page as challenge, right, it means that if you can answer this, you know things that are beyond the syllabus, and you are definitely more advanced than the other students. And hearing that, right, some students will feel as a personal challenge that, okay, no, I must answer this. And again, even though this question is out of the syllabus, but as they discuss the answers, right, or their attempt of the answers in the Telegram chat, they are still using the concepts from the course content and the discussion, right? The other students are reading the discussion and revising the course content, even though they may not fully understand the proof or the answers to these more challenging questions. Okay, so that's another way that I use to increase the self-efficacy of the students. Okay, so yeah. And finally, the last way that I thought would be useful to improve the self-efficacy is the tutorial, right? When I give them the tutorial sessions every week, the tutorial is split into two parts, section A and B. So section A are what I call the compulsory questions. Students are supposed to answer them, although it's not graded, but they're supposed to answer them. And the tutor will pick some of the questions from the section A to go through, right? But I also give them a lot of optional questions from in section B. We will not go through them. We will not talk about them in class. But again, they can use either the Telegram chat, or they can come and chat with the tutor after the lesson on this more challenging or application question. So let me just show you the example once again. Give me a second. Let me just open it up. Here. Okay, so you can see that, for example, here, tutorial 5, okay, these are the section A, the compulsory questions. Okay, so the compulsory questions are what they should know, and they should be able to do it. Okay, if they don't, then the tutor will make sure that teach them and they know it. So these are like the basic or the important or compulsory question. Okay, and then the section B, the extra problem, and you can see that here is a bit more challenging questions. And they are not required to actually be able to prove it. Okay, it's the more advanced students can do it, and at the end of the week, I will also publish the answers for the more for the extra problems. Okay, and it's not just more challenging questions; it is also application questions. So here, if they're interested, they can read about how linear algebra can be used to make sure that there's no error in the code that they send through. The data that they send through the channel, right? The Wi-Fi or whatever. Okay, so it's the tutorial, right? Is to motivate them to see that math, right, is not just abstract concept. So students who are interested, right, can actually have a go and read about how mathematics is applicable in their real life situations. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually at the end of the talk already. So moving ahead, the department is actually putting in a lot of effort in doing blended learning. And the advantage of blended learning is that the course content, right, are made in small bite-sized pieces and put online, and the students are the students can watch the bite-sized video at their own time, at their own pace, and they can watch it many times. And after they have watched the video, right, they will come for class where we will go through some of the questions and the concept that they are supposed to learn from the video lecture. So this will help them, right, to prepare so that they don't come into the lesson and feel that it's a bit rushed when they have to, in 2 hours, solo all the concept that they're supposed to learn for 1 week, right? But they will spread the content across the whole week so that by the time they come for a lecture, they more or less already have some background and knowledge in the content, so that when we actually go through some of the questions and examples, they will be able to follow more closely the examples or the problem solving together in class. So this will help improve also the self-efficacy of the students, because when now they receive the course content, right, the live lecture, it's not so intimidating to them as they have already watched the video, or they have already some prior knowledge. So that's the direction that the department is moving, especially for large classes with students that are not math major taking math courses. So I've come to the end of the sharing. So here's some references that I use, and feel free to ask me any questions.
Okay, I request colleagues to either unmute yourself and ask questions, or post it in the chat and I can read it for you. Either way is fine. And thank you, Jonathon, for that wonderful sharing of whatever you have, you have done in your classes. So as we wait for questions from my colleagues, I have a couple of questions too. And I was intrigued by your ungraded assessment aspect, because it's very exciting, how do, the motivation for a student to learn, or the trigger is usually the assessment. But now you make it ungraded, and how much students resonate and take that ungraded assessment?
Oh, okay. You're talking about the revision before the start of the lecture, right?
Yeah, that's right. The revision.
Okay. It's actually through fun, and it's quite what's that called? It's quite popular. So let's say if I have a class of 60 students coming for a lecture, right? I normally do get very close to 60. So and for a smaller class like this semester, I only have about 16 students turning up for lecture in this semester, and I can normally see that it's up to 16 students in most of the classes that will participate in the revision. So it's quite popular among students because of the concept of it being a competition. They would want to try to do well in the competition because it's a game style. It's like a game style, right? So the students are motivated to join, and in fact it's the other way around, because it's ungraded and because they can use their aliases, right, nickname. They don't feel that's what's that called, intimidating or afraid to join and do mistake and do the mistake. Yeah, so the students are intrinsically motivated because the way it's run as a games style, to want to see how they are doing. And I normally tell them also. So I'm quite upfront. I tell them that statistically speaking and historically speaking, the students who do well in the revision questions are also the students who do well in the course in general, because the fact that they can understand the content and catch up shows that they understand. So the students take it as a personal challenge, like, oh, okay, I want to make sure that I do well also. So how I check and make sure that I do well is through the revision. Okay, one last one last way that I motivate the students to join, right, is sometimes I will not display in the video, but sometimes I will have very funny options in the quiz. Like I remember one of the option, right, is I asked them to compute the determinant of a matrix. Okay, and it's a very big size matrix, but it's actually a diagonal. It's a triangular matrix. So they could count the determinant in 5 or 10 seconds because it's very easy, right? A triangular matrix is just the product of the diagonal entries. But one of the options I put there as this is too time consuming, I give up as one of the options. And I can see that some students put that as an option because it's funny and it also let me know, right, that some students don't really understand yet that how to compute the determinant of a triangular matrix. So they are having fun, but they're also learning at the same time. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, right. Thanks. So Dr. Balaji has a question. Sir, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. It's very nice to see with the help of your lecture, we can able to understand that GeoGebra is a platform. We can use it for that real-time simulations, sir. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir. And can we use GeoGebra for all fields of mathematics, such as calculus, differential calculus, curvature, evolute, envelope? Can we simulate that type of thing? And similarly, can we use it for Fourier series, that type of idea?
Yes, actually. So Fourier series is the decomposition, right, into the trigo functions. So what we can do is, let me just try and see if I can demonstrate. Okay, wait. So, oops, I do the wrong. Okay, so GeoGebra, right, can plot functions. So let's say I want sine x, okay, and then sine 2x, right? So you can see here that what we can do, right, is we can already pre-program the different functions, and then we can display them along the way and show them. So then we can then say that, okay, the third option will be the sum, right? And then so we can hide it and say that, okay, so this is your first frequency, second frequency, and then after you add them up, you get this frequency. So what we can do, right, is you can already prepare before the lesson all the different frequency, and as you display the sum one by one, you review, right? Then you can also plot the actual curve, maybe a sawtooth or whatever, and you can show them that this curve, right, approximate the curve nearer and nearer and nearer the actual curve that we want to demonstrate. So there are other functions. You can also do differentiation inside GeoGebra also. Here, yes. You can also do so you can also do differentiation, but I forgot the actual code.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I forgot the actual code. So there's a you can go to the GeoGebra help, right, to see what are the different functions that GeoGebra have that we can use to demonstrate in class. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Hariharan?
Very good afternoon, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice talk about this particular session, sir. Actually, development of students' intuition through visualization. You are mentioning about the visualization. Actually, we are practicing for the visualization to demonstrate each and every mathematical calculation for the students, actually, now through MATLAB or R programming, whatever it is. So what is the thing is that you mentioned about the linear combination. Linear combination is a very important aspect in the principal component analysis. You are showing that particular diagram for this session is very interesting because all are connected with the data science actually here, right? So many data, machine learning algorithms have been used for the purpose of visualization only. All predictions can be done through the visualization only. So in this particular talk, actually, I have learned a few things about from this particular lecture related with the visualization of the linear combination of the thing here. So that's very nice. That also very useful for principal component analysis part in the study actually. So it's very interesting, Professor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, sir. And Dr. Natarajan has a question in the chat. So he says, thank you very much for the lecture. It was marvelous to see the demonstration of abstract math concepts using GeoGebra. The question that he has is, usually mathematicians prefer chalk and talk lectures. Do we need a paradigm shift from conventional teaching to ICT-enabled teaching to improve the self-efficacy of the learners? Your comment.
Okay. I maybe later we can also invite Prof. Tan to talk about this, because he did have a entire talk presentation once about using software, but maybe I just attempt first. I don't think it's a need. It's not a need, because most of us grew up. I'm in an in-between generation where some professors use technology, some professors don't. So, but I'm pretty sure that many other professors grow up in a generation where it's really just chalk and talk, right? So, and we do learn very well. So it's not a necessity per se, but it's the generation that now students are living in a generation where, you know, TikTok, Instagram, they it's very hard to capture their attention for long if we use chalk and whiteboard only. That's number one. So it's a generation thing. Number two, even if it's not a generation thing, right? Even if, let's say, imagine ourselves now when we were still students, going all the way back, if there were all these tools, all these GeoGebra software, you know, application, PoEV, I'm pretty sure that we would have learned faster, maybe. The same concept, because even though all this visualization, we could have done it ourselves, but it was after a while, at least for me, after a while, right, when I have a deeper intuition, when I read the subject enough, I form my own intuition and own geometrical understanding of the content. But that's because I am willing to spend time, right? I already have high self-efficacy in mathematics, so I'm willing to spend time to visualize them. But here the students have low self-efficacy. I don't think they will spend time thinking about it so often that they are able to develop their own intuition and own geometry. So I'm just accelerating the process and, of course, improving their self-efficacy by using technology to help them to achieve what they could have done it, but after a while and with some perseverance. So it's not necessary, but it's definitely very helpful in that sense. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Shanti, you want to unmute and ask your question?
No, sir. I added with his point, it will always enhance our concept clarity. That
Okay.
all the AI tools will give concept clarity. Easily we can reach the student.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else has any other questions? You can please unmute yourself or post it in the chat box, and I can read it out. And or I have another question. So one of the difficulties that you probably have also undergone, I believe, is setting the right level of questions so that students improve the self-efficacy, right? So how do you judge whether a question is tough or it is easy? And so a question that is tough for some students may be easy for some. For some it is easy, it is tough. So that there is always a heterogeneity. So how do you manage and come up and say that, okay, let's have this question first as an easy level, then this is the next hardest level. How do you decide, and how do you decide that?
Okay. For the lecture examples, right? The examples that I give in the lecture are normally direct application of what is being taught immediately before, right? So the examples, let's say how to compute determinant using cofactor expansion. It's just computing cofactor expansion. So these are like straightforward computations. And then in the tutorial, right, I will also have in the beginning some questions that will just directly, so it's a copy and paste. You look at the examples in the lecture, you just do it the same for the tutorial. So these are the low level. It's more of practicing and making sure that they understand the course content. Then the so-called second level, right? The next level is okay, down as we go down the tutorial question, right, or even the lecture quiz, the compulsory one. Okay, there will be some questions that are maybe 1 or 2 steps away from the course content. So instead of being able to copy and paste the examples, right, they will actually need to twist a little bit, but it's just one twist. Just need to make one simple observation. Then they will be able to get it. And as for the more challenging or advanced question, right, I'm pretty sure we know, because when we set these questions, right, these are questions that requires more abstract thinking, and perhaps it is not directly obvious from the content how to apply and use it. But it takes, but this question will only come after they have already enough practices from the more straightforward questions that are given in the lecture quiz and of course in the tutorial. So normally the harder questions, right, will come in the form of homework rather than tutorial question. It is in the homework that I give them a slightly more challenging question, and therefore they can use the forum, like the chat, the Telegram chat, to also what's that called, to also discuss. And it is in the Telegram chat, right, that I also find out which are the more difficult questions, because then the students that discuss more, right, are actually the questions that are more difficult. So over the years, I built up the knowledge of the level of the students' understanding by looking at their feedback in the Telegram chat.
Okay, right. So that is a very nice thing. The chat is an indicator of the discussion levels in a particular question, is then an indicator, in addition to your own conceptualization of, this requires a little more data, and then, okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
I think there's one more question by Dr. Manivannan in the chat box. Maybe you'd like to read it out.
Yeah. So Dr. Manivannan says, thank you very much for the session. As we know, linear algebra is a fundamental math course in data science curriculum. Are there any specific tools available in GeoGebra for handling data science or data handling aspects?
Thank you for the question. I am not very familiar with that, actually, to be honest. I use GeoGebra for very, very simple and fundamental visualization of vectors and graphs and everything. But like I said just now, if you go to the GeoGebra help, right, they have the link to the different topics in GeoGebra. In fact, I subscribe to, sorry, not subscribe, I follow them on Instagram. GeoGebra have an Instagram channel. Then every now and then they will post news about how they can use their app for different visualization of the different topic in mathematics. So I'm sorry, I don't have the answer, but we can go and look at the GeoGebra help. There's different topics there that we can explore to use to visualize the even for data science. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Dr. Shanti says there seems to be a spoken tutorial on GeoGebra in the Swayam platform. So that is also something to explore. Okay, and Dr. Kannan, yes, sir. YBVK, sir, you want to ask before I read that question from Dr.
Yeah. Sir, I have a doubt. See, in this case of multiple choice questions, we can easily give it in GeoGebra or any platform. Okay, I want my student to work out with a problem that could have more than 4 or 5 lines, right? So by just testing using multiple choice, it's going to be very difficult. In the conventional examination that the students write, they have to present the solution to the entire part. Right? How can we raise the level of the students to such a level?
Okay, let me try to understand, see if I understand your question. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So just now I was saying, right, that the revision question and the lecture quiz are mostly multiple choice and multiple response and fill in the blanks kind. Yeah, these questions are mostly either conceptual questions or very straightforward computational questions. So the multiple choice, right, is not where I test them in their workings. So you're saying that the students need to work things out and do their works working, right? That will actually be tested during the homework or during the exam. So the exam, again, I have two parts. I have the section A, where it's multiple choice, and section B, where it's worked out solutions. So the multiple choice, right, are mostly to test them and make sure that they understand their concepts. And it may not also be just directly definition. Okay, which one is the definition of eigenvalue? No, it's not just like that, but it could be very tricky questions, as just now you saw in the example that I give, right? Things like, is it possible for eigenspace to have dimension 0? The kind of question is not directly given in the lecture, but it's very conceptual. They have to understand that eigenvectors can never be 0, so eigenspace can never be dimension 0. Stuff like this is tested in the lecture quiz. So even though it is a multiple choice question, but it is by no means too simple for them, because it can still ask very deep conceptual questions. But yeah, they are mostly conceptual kind of questions. And computational wise, if it's something that requires more steps, then we will test them in their homework and in the exam instead. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you. So Dr. Narasimhan has another question. So he asks, in a heterogeneous group of students, preparing students to new platforms or tools are challenging. How to overcome this in general? So what has been your experience? Yes.
If you're talking about tools as in like GeoGebra or MATLAB or that, right? We actually, okay, so for GeoGebra, I think it's quite straightforward. The students just need to click in and play around with it, right? And I will also demonstrate it during the lecture. I'll teach them how to use the different apps. I'll tell them that, okay, for this GeoGebra app, for this GeoGebra, what's that called, program, you're supposed to play around with the matrix A, like exactly what I did just now. Play around with the matrix A, play around with the different values of the vectors, let's say. So I will demonstrate it once, and then I'll allow them to play at their own timing. So that's more straightforward. But if you're talking about like lecture quiz, online quiz, then we would actually devote some time either in the lecture or during the tutorial to teach them how to use the different platform, or like, for example, MATLAB or R, right? Actually, it's inbuilt in the tutorial. For the linear algebra course that I teach, the tutorial, we will spend time going through the MATLAB code for each of the different computation. So in the tutorial itself, right, it is inbuilt that we will the solution in the tutorial, right, will also give them the code, and the tutor will run the MATLAB live or the R program live in front of the students to code it together with them. And then the tutorial, right, they'll also be given some time to try out the code themselves after they have watched the tutor present the solution. So it is actually imbued in the lecture and the tutorial to use the different software or platforms. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like GeoGebra has got the attention of many faculty members. So Dr. Kannan has asked, is there any support for computational geometry in GeoGebra? Do you have any quick answers?
I'm not familiar also.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? You can please unmute and ask. Okay, or I have one last question. So when it is engineering students, what you have shown us is how to understand the mathematical concepts and use them and in improving their self-efficacy. But when it comes to engineering students, they also have to apply these concepts in a real-time situation, or rather, I would put it, they have to understand the physical nature of the problem, and then think about what mathematical ideas have to be brought in to solve the problem, right? I mean, to give a simple example, if it is a heat conduction in a rod versus heat conduction in a surface kind of thing, then they have to think, okay, this is a differential equation, and then this is a boundary value problem, all those things, right? So on one hand, they need to understand how to solve the differential equations. On the other hand, they need to be able to convert the physical problem to a mathematical problem, right? So how does that transition happen? Or is there a way we can help in that transition?
Okay, I have two answers to this question. The first is that in the tutorial sheet, right, in the tutorial problems that I give them, some of the questions are also application questions.
Okay.
So from the tutorial question, they can get a flavor of how the concept that they learn can be applicable to the real life problem. But I must be mindful, because the engineering students that take my course, right, are not the same type of engineering. They can be electrical, they can be computer engineering, they can be chemical engineering even. So it's impossible to give examples for every one of them. And sometimes if I give, let's say, a chemical engineering problem, right, the mechanical or the electrical engineering will be a bit lost. That's where I ask them to, in a tutorial, to explain to one another in class, because some of the class are more mixed. Yeah, so the students will explain to each other. So the tutorial itself will give them the flavor, but it's just a flavor, because it's not going to be able to touch every single application. But the tutor, right, that when they are explaining, they also need to. Okay, so when they explain the application question, right, they're not supposed to just teach directly the answer, just like, okay, this is the solution, that's it. But they will also be made to explain why we use that concept to answer that particular question. So if it's like, okay, you can see that the variables, right, are constant, and not changing, right? So there's a linear aspect to it. So okay, we use techniques from linear algebra. But if over time, okay, the system change, and the change is changing also, right, then that's a differential problem. So you need to set up an ODE instead. So the students will be made to understand the context through the question. So even though they're just some small examples, but the examples will elicit the idea behind how to know which concept to use. Okay, so that's the first answer. Second answer is that actually I do motivate the students, right, to have a very deep understanding of the concept independently first. So when they learn linear algebra, eventually they need to apply it, but don't learn linear algebra with the lens of, I just want to apply it in this situation, because then you'll be a very narrow perspective, and you will only be able to understand how the linear algebra can be applied in this one situation. No, that's why, so in the test, in the lecture quiz that I give them, right, it is not so much of helping them to understand the application, but it's more of helping them to have a deeper understanding of the topic in and of itself. So that, for example, if they know, let's say, least square solution, okay, the examples that they're given are just best fit line, best fit curve. But eventually, if they have very deep understanding of linear least square problem and how to approximate anything, right, then they will be able to extrapolate the result and realize that, hey, this is also some form of machine learning, right? That they can be able to predict new data using the old data and update the new system using least square solution. So when they understand the concept in and of itself very strongly, right, they will have some kind of intuition that, hey, okay, the next time I see that there's a updating of and prediction, right, could it be related to what I learned about least square solution? Then they will own self be able to make the link and apply it in their real life problem. So that's what I preach to my students, and I hope that it has been effective.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, anybody else has any questions, or if no more questions, then we can. I'll just wait for maybe 3-4 seconds if somebody has a question.
No, not a question, but I think I'm not a maths person, but I thoroughly enjoyed the talk, and I'm sure that it has given our maths faculty some food for thought as to how to keep the students engaged and also to cater to different types of students. Thanks to all the tips Professor Jonathon had given. And I would be very happy if we have another follow-up meeting sometime later when our faculty would implement some of these strategies and we can share experiences or challenges which could also lead to newer directions, I think, in this ever-changing student heterogeneity, and their expectations and their very limited attention span. So how to keep them learning is something that is always going to be a challenge. But I think it's important for such exchanges to happen so that we can improve constantly. So definitely, I would be very happy to have some other feedback also from our faculty as they try all these strategies. I mean, GeoGebra, I think, as Vignesh put it, had really caught the attention of everyone. But I'm sure that we need to try it out and then see how our students also are able to catch up on that. So thank you very much. I would definitely, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Maybe some of this we can also implement in other basic science courses too.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Jonathon and Dr. Victor, for this wonderful talk. And first of all, for agreeing to give the talk. Naren had told us about his interactions with you when he was at NUS, and we were actually looking forward to this talk, and this has been proven to be very useful for us. And so I think this is the beginning of a longer interaction. As ma'am put it, we'll also try out these things, and we'll get in touch with you again of our experiences. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.